Now in the previous video we made the slot for the silence or ringer button. Now we talked at the end about making a larger opening to maybe reach both volume buttons. Again, this would be a creator or designer's choice. You could create individual buttons using the slot tool or rectangle tool, but I'm going to use the rectangle tool in the center rectangle. And if I look at my document, what I need is a rectangle that is 24.01 by 3 millimeters. Now, just like the previous, I want to dimension this from my center point to my edge, the same as my silence button, which is 3.85. If I also look from this edge to the top right here, I'm going to be down 29.38 millimeters. Again, this is why it's extremely important to do the math beforehand. So what we can see is we have that sketch laid down here. Now, we know that cell phones have buttons on the top, they have the sides, they have speaker areas. You would continually have to go around and build these features. I'm not at this point. I'm going to assume that you have your dimensions and do that. What I'm going to talk about is how to build your case. So I'm going to close out on my sketch too. And I'm going to look at this top tool or cell phone perspective, and I'm going to go to my shell tool. And I'm going to select this interface to shell. Now, for cell phone case, generally about 1 millimeter to 1.5 millimeters would be how much you'd want to shell it. And right now it has an inside shell. But my cell phone obviously wouldn't fit around the inside, so what I want to do is change the direction to an outside shell. So now that opening right here is what the actual cell phone's measurements are, so you should get a nice tight fit. So I can then green check mark it, gain perspective, and see my work. Now what you're going to notice on that left side here, I have my dimensions for my slot and for my opening here. But what I need to do now is create a sketch on this. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a sketch over the top. All my points here are still active. So I can just grab my line tool and select the starting and finishing point for that slot. I can then choose my slot tool, select that line, and I have that 2.75 radius on that slot, so I can hit my enter. So now I have an active sketch on that. I can do the same thing with my center point rectangle tool. I can select that point, again match up with my center point rectangle, and now I have an active sketch. So what we're going to see is I'm going to zoom in on this and hit my extrude button. I'm going to do a removal of this because I want it to be open. I could change the depth to my actual cell phone case width to make that cut. And what we can now see is I have that removed from there. Now this is where I can grab my fillet or chamfer tools, and I can kind of make those edges a little bit more smooth. Let's go 0.1 maybe. Let's see what that looks like. Maybe 0.01. I meant let's do 0.05 and let's see how that looks. And it's something that you can play around with to get the exact fillet or chamfer that you would like on this case. Now realize that this tutorial isn't the actual way to complete the project with all the different features. You are the designer for your cell phone case. Rather, this is a point that you can get started on, that by looking at the schematic, you should be able to add all your features and have a cell phone case that fits. I want to emphasize that this is not the only way to create this. Over the decade that I've had students design cell phone cases almost now, there are numerous ways to approach it. This is just one way. So feel free to choose your own design and your own way of approaching creating a cell phone case.